Welcome to the video. We're going to talk about the history of RTS, what it was originally, what it is now, and why I like it so much, and why I'm hoping and believe that as you understand what it can do, that you'll enjoy it also. So this long series of videos is going to be all about RTS2, the Universal Real-Time Orchestrator, how to turn your entire DAW into an orchestrator. It works, it's extremely powerful, but there's a lot to do. A lot of work had to be done to figure this out. And I'm going to try to explain in the best way I can of how it's done, how we can take an orchestrator like Opus and give it, as an example, Opus has certain instruments that come with it, certain presets you can add to it. You can create your own rhythms and motion, but it's limited in what it can do. Even though it can do a lot, sounds great, I love it. I just, from the very beginning years ago, I thought, why not? Why couldn't you have your entire DAW be the orchestrator? So you're not limited to just great ideas in one instrument. So yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. How you can take all the instruments, unify their space, give them endless ideas for MIDI, chords, voice leading, everything in one, unlimited. It's quite the process. Do the work once and then just be able to use your DAW literally as a very sophisticated, powerful orchestrator where you can save the presets, recall them anytime exactly how they were, just like you would if you had a Korg arranger keyboard. Same idea. You're saving not just the sounds, but you're saving all the movement, all the patterns with it. And let me just bring up a little graphic, move it into space here. It's all about creating a master track. And once you have that and those ideas down, and these can be any musical ideas, it doesn't have to be these scales, but I created a kind of default basic master track which will give you ideas on how you can do it and tailor it to exactly. But in essence, it gives you almost unlimited chord and chord types to pick from, and the safety of staying within a scale, borrowing some chords, moving to a different scale, adding a seventh, adding any types of sharps and flats, augmented, suspended, diminished. So you have the safety of knowing your musical idea in the very basics or instantly moving out and experimenting. It's a very interesting system, and I will be explaining this in the future as I make, again, a series of videos on this. Hundreds and thousands of handmade notes and patterns. I talk about how to unify all the instrument spaces into one space, because if you're turning your DAW and all the different companies' instruments that were recorded in halls and different spaces from around the world, you also have to have a way to unify the space as you're creating these presets. The instruments you choose, you could be choosing from a sonokinetic phrase library or a VSL sampled instrument or something from Action Strings, anything. You want it to sound at least somewhat unified as you create these ideas. So these were all challenges, and it was done in a way that is extremely cheap. There's no software to buy other than buying the older version of like Remedy. Get it on sale. That's usually very cheap. And basically what you do is any MIDI that comes with it, you just create a whole new section with folders and you create your own MIDI. And I've created thousands and thousands of phrases and musical ideas. But what I'm saying is it doesn't cost a fortune. It costs almost nothing to do this. The hard work was getting it to work in a way that you could save it as a whole preset, you could unify the space, and you could record your dynamic play, or I would say like your real-time play, as a sequence. And that sequence of your actual performance can be edited, and then you can edit that performance and how it affects any one of your VSTIs and their patterns. That can be edited and recorded separately, so it makes it so simple to record and edit ideas and then bounce it down to audio and then mix your audio as separate tracks. It's really a system that does everything, and of course that's my opinion. So I'm taking it out of this alpha stage where I've been developing it in the background for years, and I've spoke a little bit about it in the past. But now it's at a stage where, I want to get some feedback, kind of beta feedback. So I'll be making these videos, and eventually I'll put up some master tracks and MIDI files. And it's a system where you can create your own. And it's just a matter of creating these MIDI files and controller tracks, because you do want to be able to give every one of your VSTIs what it needs to perform at its best. That means sending it the chords or your performance in its right register, so it doesn't trigger any key switches that mess things up. And it's going to be hitting that VSTI in the right register for the best performance. And it's also going to be sending any control notes needed to change anything in that VSTI. Like some VSTIs, like action strings and action woodwinds, not only can you play chords in, but you can play triads. You can play a triad with a bass note. You get a different performance, different sound. You could play with a single note in. And you can also change automatically on the fly if the high strings play or the low strings, or in the case of woodwinds, the low winds or the highs. And you can change the different patterns on the fly to automate as you're playing it. Long story short is, do the hard work once, make all these control tracks for any one of your VSTIs, and it's a lot of work. But here is the thing. You do it once, you save it, it's done. So literally then you have endless chords and chord voicing ideas on your keyboard all at once, where you can play in the safety of just a scale or move out as you please and experiment as you please. And you could pick any instrument and have it play with harmony to whatever chord type you're playing or inversion. And you can have it play a melody to something like VSL flute that will sequence its articulations in real time as you're playing this. Or you could send that same idea at the same time to play a chord inside a Sonokinetic Indie to give you extremely realistic bass player playing along with you. So the potential is vast. Understanding all of this doesn't come easy. That's why I'm going to make an entire series of videos. And I have some support graphics that I'm going to help explain this. But it's not something you necessarily have to do on your own. I hope to be able to support the channel with giving you a full set of master MIDI files that you simply load up into your Remedy, which is an empty shell type of software where you just load these folders. And once it's loaded in, you duplicate it and then send that to any instrument you want, and that can be saved. You only have to do that once. And once the work is done, which I'm doing the work, in theory, you should be able to pick any instrument, have it play with any other instrument without issues, and harmonize in any way you want, like orchestrate it in real time, capture it. So that's the goal. That's been the mission for years. It's still not perfect, but I've overcome some of the hardest issues, the things I thought would never be possible. And it's working really, really great now. I want to share it to people. I want to get other people's opinions. Of course, I think it's the greatest thing ever. Professionals may just think, oh, more automation, why do we even bother? But here's the thing with AI. AI is a system where you're not hands-on. You have no creative input other than what you decide to tell the computer to spit out at you. I wanted and needed a system where I'm in charge. I create the patterns. I decide what scales I'm going to play in, where I'm going to go next, the tempo. I play a note, it plays a chord. I decide if it's going to be held for a beat, 2 beats, up to 16 beats deep, with instruments coming and going with sustains and animations. And it's just like having a Korg arranger keyboard or a Geno system from Yamaha, but it's extremely more powerful. And so you can make it your own. You can play other people's patterns in this system. And it's up to you how much creativity you want to put into it, or just load up a bunch of MIDI ideas in folders. I hope to, again, put out a master file that gets everybody up and running, and maybe that could help support my channel so I can do more experiments. It costs a lot of money to buy all these different softwares and keep them always updated, so that's another concern. But generally, you know, I don't ask for anything more than a little bit of support when needed. I hope to share a lot more about this with more videos and more demonstrations. This is the initial kind of update of what's going on with the RTS system. And we'll see you on the next video.